After years apart, Murong Qingyi finally reunited with his son Luan. Ren Susu had discovered she was pregnant after separating from Murong Qingyi and had endured countless hardships raising the boy alone. Their separation had begun with a painful misunderstanding that neither of them had been able to resolve. Murong Qingyi had learned that his elder brother, Murong Qingyu, had died because of something connected to Ren Susu. Consumed by grief and anger, he confronted her at gunpoint. He even burned down the small wooden cabin where they had once pledged their love, severing the bond between them and declaring that he never wanted anything to do with her again. Ren Susu had no way to defend herself and could only watch helplessly as everything fell apart. At that moment, members of the Murong family suddenly sent men to attack Murong Qingyi. He was already injured and had no strength to resist. When his life was in danger, Ren Susu stepped forward without hesitation and took the fatal blow meant for him. She was already pregnant at the time. The severe injury caused her to lose her hearing in one ear. They were both rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. However, by the time Ren Susu regained consciousness, Murong Qingyi had already left to join the military. Once again, they missed their chance to be together. Ren Susu spent the following months carrying the child alone. She eventually gave birth safely to her son, Ren Luan, and deliberately kept the identity of his biological father a secret. Meanwhile, Murong Qingyi took charge of matters related to the aviation academy. He remained trapped in grief over his brother's death and resentment toward Ren Susu, completely unaware that he had a biological son growing up without him. Years later, young Luan unexpectedly found himself in grave danger. Murong Qingyi happened to be nearby while handling official business and immediately stepped in to save him. When they met for the first time, Murong Qingyi felt that the boy's eyes and features looked strangely familiar. However, he never imagined that Luan could be his son. He merely felt an inexplicable tenderness and sympathy toward the child. The turning point came when the poison inside Murong Qingyi's body suddenly flared up, leaving him weak and disoriented. As memories from the past flooded his mind, he repeatedly saw an image of Ren Susu standing outside a thatched cottage with a child in her arms. Only then did Murong Qingyi realize that Luan might be his biological son. Determined to confirm his suspicion, he immediately asked a trusted friend to investigate the matter in secret. The investigation eventually produced undeniable evidence proving that Murong Qingyi and Luan were father and son. Unable to contain himself, Murong Qingyi hurried to meet Luan. He also finally resolved the misunderstanding that had separated him from Ren Susu for so many years. Ren Susu revealed the pain she had kept buried in her heart. She had chosen to give birth alone and conceal the father's identity because she feared the endless schemes and power struggles within the Murong family. She was terrified that her child would be dragged into those conflicts. All she had ever wanted was for Luan to grow up quietly and live an ordinary life. After years of separation, suffering, and misunderstanding, the family of three was finally reunited. This child belongs to Murong Qingyi. No one could have imagined that by the time Ren Susu learned she was carrying Murong Qingyi's child, the two of them had already become enemies. The Fong family's cargo ship returning to Southeast Asia caught fire, killing everyone aboard, including Master Fong. Ren Susu lost the greatest source of support she had left. Even so, she went ahead with her wedding to Murong Qingyu because she intended to assassinate Li Rongzhang and avenge her biological parents. The assassination was part of a revenge plan that Ren Susu and Murong Qingyu had devised together. Both of them had their own reasons for taking part in the scheme. Murong Qingyu hoped that after Ren Susu killed Li Rongzhang, he could send her away and remove the greatest danger surrounding Murong Qingyi. Afterward, he intended to send Murong Qingyi abroad to receive treatment for his injured hand and continue studying medicine. Ren Susu also planned to leave Murong Qingyi forever once she had completed her revenge. Drawing a clear boundary between them seemed best for both of them, especially because Li Rongzhang was Murong Qingyi's adoptive father. However, neither of them expected Hu Minxian to become the greatest variable at the wedding. Hu Minxian had originally intended to shoot Ren Susu, but she accidentally killed Murong Qingyu instead. With his death, the entire Murong family's world collapsed. If it weren't for you, My brother would never have died. I wish you had been the one who died instead of him. Only after Murong Qingyu's death did Murong Qingyi realize that his elder brother held a place in his heart greater than anyone else. In his grief, he told the woman he loved most that he wished she had died in his brother's place. Murong Qingyu had always been the brightest light in Murong Qingyi's life. When Murong Qingyi was 8 years old, the truth came out that he and Li Bo's had been switched as babies. The Li family rejected him, while his biological mother, Cheng Jinzhi, showed him little affection. Although Li Bo's was not Cheng Jinzhi's biological son, she had raised him by her side for years. Their attachment had developed through daily companionship, and because of that, Cheng Jinzhi loved Li Bo's more deeply. Later, Murong Feng was killed in an explosion. Cheng Jinzhi blamed the young Murong Qingyi, accusing him of failing to deliver an important message clearly and causing his father's death. In her anger, she refused to allow him to return home. It was the still young Murong Qingyu who accepted Murong Qingyi as his brother. He even told their mother that he would personally take responsibility for raising him. Murong Qingyu later arranged for Murong Qingyi to study medicine overseas. He wanted his younger brother, who had grown up without parental affection, to live beneath his protection and pursue whatever life he desired as a carefree young master. Although Murong Qingyi resisted both the Murong and Li families, he accepted Murong Qingyu as his true elder brother from the bottom of his heart. During holidays, Murong Qingyi would always send greetings to him. Whenever something made him happy, Murong Qingyu was the person he wanted to tell. However, everything changed after Murong Qingyi met Ren Susu. Using her relationship with Murong Qingyi, Ren Susu entered the Hor residence and killed Huimingshi. After completing her mission, she faked her death and escaped, leaving Murong Qingyi to be treated as the murderer. At the time, the Hor family held enormous influence throughout the city. They demanded an explanation for Huimingshi's death, and Murong Qingyi became the perfect person to sacrifice. Murong Qingyu had not yet secured enough power to protect his brother. His only option was to negotiate with the Hor family and accept a settlement that required Murong Qingyi to spend 3 years in prison. That was the moment the first crack appeared between the two brothers. 3 years later, Murong Qingyi became entangled in constant conflict with Ren Susu, who was pretending to be Fang Mulan. He and Murong Qingyu rarely had an opportunity to sit down and speak calmly. Before they could reconcile, Murong Qingyu was killed. When Murong Qingyi discovered that Ren Susu had been the cause behind everything, he poured all his grief and despair onto her. Ren Susu, from this moment onward, everything between us is over. We will have nothing to do with each other again. With those words, Murong Qingyi sentenced their love to death. Ren Susu later collapsed on the street and was discovered by Li Bo's. At first, the two of them could barely tolerate each other. Ren Susu wanted to kill Li Rongzhang to avenge her family, while Li Bo's firmly believed that his father could never have committed such terrible crimes. However, after discovering that the child in Ren Susu's womb belonged to Murong Qingyi, Li Bo's decided to protect her and give her a place of safety. He did not do it for his elder brother. He did it for Murong Qingyi, the younger brother who had always refused to call him second brother. As Li Bo's cared for Ren Susu, the two gradually became close friends who supported each other through their darkest moments. Li Bo's learned the truth about Ren Susu's past. Because he had been the only person willing to save her when she was drowning in despair, Ren Susu trusted him more than anyone else. With Li Bo's help, Ren Susu safely gave birth to her son, Ren Luan. Murong Qingyi did not see Ren Susu again until 6 years later. When he finally found her, Li Bo's was standing by her side, and there was also a child with them. Murong Qingyi had already carried resentment toward Li Bo's for years. Seeing him beside Ren Susu only deepened that hatred. He even blamed Li Bo's for interfering in Ren Susu's life. What Murong Qingyi did not know was that Li Bo's had spent those years helping Ren Susu raise Luan. The way Luan treated Li Bo's made it obvious that Li Bo's genuinely loved the boy. It was not because he had developed romantic feelings for Ren Susu. He had simply taken responsibility as a father in Murong Qingyi's place. Murong Qingyi had turned his back on Ren Susu without hesitation. He never considered how difficult her life would become after the destruction of the Fong family, especially when she was left alone with a child. In the end, Murong Qingyi had failed Ren Susu far more deeply than she had ever failed him. Of all the characters in the series, Cheng Jinzhi was perhaps the most infuriating. On the surface, she claimed that she disliked Murong Qingyi because he had not grown up by her side. However, the deeper reason was that Murong Qingyi had never given her the prestige and social status she desired. Cheng Jinzhi bore much of the responsibility for Murong Feng's death. Murong Qingyi had clearly delivered the crucial information to her, but Cheng Jinzhi failed to take it seriously. When the Northern-Southern Railway was later bombed and Murong Feng was killed, she shifted all the blame onto the young Murong Qingyi. By blaming a child, she was able to escape responsibility and ease her own guilt. Murong Qingyi once said that Murong Feng and Cheng Jinzhi had never been deeply in love. Cheng Jinzhi, however, knew how to put on a convincing performance. To make others believe she had loved Murong Feng deeply, she wore half of one of his finger bones around her neck as a necklace. In truth, she merely wanted to preserve the glamorous and respected title of Madame Murong. Why did she favor Murong Qingyu so much? It was because Murong Qingyu held the Murong family together. He not only commanded the Cheng army but also served as the head of the aviation academy. His many prestigious positions elevated Cheng Jinzhi's own social standing. She had never truly cared about Murong Qingyu from the bottom of her heart. Had she genuinely cared for him, she would not have forced him to marry the daughter of a wealthy shipping magnate from Southeast Asia. After Murong Qingyu's death, Cheng Jinzhi lost much of her former prestige. Murong Qingyi severed his relationship with her, and she became so furious when he declared his intention to marry Ren Susu that she fell ill. To Cheng Jinzhi, the thought of her younger son marrying his elder brother's widow was an unbearable humiliation. While Murong Qingyu was still alive, Cheng Jinzhi had dared to discipline Murong Qingyi. Because Murong Qingyu stood between them, Murong Qingyi had always shown some restraint around his mother. Now, however, Murong Qingyi had gained enough power to stand on his own. Cheng Jinzhi no longer had any way to control him. She understood that with Murong Qingyu gone, Murong Qingyi's influence was continuing to grow. Remaining in Shin City would bring her nothing but trouble, so she decided to return to her hometown. The Cheng family's power and foundations were rooted there. By returning home, Cheng Jinzhi chose the safest and cleverest way to spend her remaining years in comfort. As an extreme egoist, Cheng Jinzhi always knew how to make the choice that benefited her most at precisely the right moment. To her, her children were merely symbols of her identity and status. Even though she knew Murong Feng did not love her, she clung to their marriage so she could secure her position as Madame Murong. After becoming a mother, she never learned how to love or care for her children. She continued pursuing dignity, influence, and social status above everything else. In the end, none of her sons remained by her side to care for her in her old age. That was perhaps the greatest punishment she could have received.